your host, Eric Smith, and today I'm talking about The Flash, The Haunting of Barry Allen. This is by Clay Griffith and Susan Griffith, based on the Warner Brothers television show. It's a media tie in, and this is from Titan Books. Um, Nice photo cover. I'm not a huge fan of photo covers, but it's based on a TV show, so that's what you get. And you can see Arrow there. It is a crossover. Um, so, in this story, Barry Allen is the Flash in Central City, and there's a group of rogues that are attacking the city, working together, doing some crazy stuff. Barry's got to take them all on. And while he's dealing with this, there are some glitches in his power. In the middle of battles or rescues or whatever he happens to be doing, he'll sort of freeze up and go kind of ghostly. That's the word they use on the back. And he's having visions of dead people and people that he shouldn't be seeing. And he even sees an older version of himself. And so this isn't good if he's in the middle of something that this happens. It's definitely a bad thing for him to freeze up and have these things happen. It could mean the bad guys get away or people get hurt or things. So it's a lot for him to take on. So he calls Green Arrow. So Oliver Queen, John Diggle, Felicity Smoke show up to help him out and figure out what's wrong with him, help him deal with these rogues. And that's just a quick nutshell of what's going on. Now, first of all, this takes place during season 2 of The Flash. I thought at first it was maybe right at the beginning of season 2, but there are a few things that seem to indicate it's maybe a little later in season 2 than right off. I was thinking like first episode, like somewhere between the first and second episodes, but some things make it seem that it's a little later in season 2. So that's where it's set. So without spoiling, I don't want anyone going in thinking, since it is a group of rogues, I don't want anyone being disappointed when they realize that Captain Cold is not a part of this story. But by season 2 of The Flash, Captain Cold had gone off with the Legends of Tomorrow and is hopping through time. So no Captain Cold in this story. It does mention, I can give this away, I guess, because it's on the back. This isn't all of the rogues, but you have Pied Piper, Weather Wizard, and Peekaboo are just three of the rogues that are part of this group. And they have a big plan. They have this huge thing that they're doing, and it's just running the Flash ragged. And again, doesn't help that his powers are going wonky. So I don't watch Arrow. I typically only watch it when it crosses over with the Flash, but I do like to see the characters. It's fun when they show up. I like the interactions between Barry Allen and Oliver Queen, and you've got that in here. Felicity Smoke hanging out with Cisco and Caitlin, always a lot of fun. And there's at least one really great moment between John Diggle and Joe West. Hopefully, if you're hopefully you're a fan of the show, so you know who I'm talking about here, who these people are. So, um, I've never read anything by Clay Griffith or Susan Griffith before, but they've got a straightforward writing style. They're telling a pretty straightforward story. Um, their portrayal of the characters is good. It's well done. They've got the characters down, I think. Um, Cisco, I love Cisco. Uh, just one of my absolute favorite characters on The Flash, and I love to see him in here. And again, on the show, when Cisco and Caitlin and Felicity are together, it's always great, and they capture that in here. Um, yeah, I think they do a great job of capturing the essence of the characters, how they behave. Oliver Queen, very Oliver Queen. Um, from what I know from the crossover episodes that I've watched. Again, I actually have the first season of Arrow on DVD because it was like $10, but I haven't watched it yet. um, so uh, I like, since they're not using Captain Cold or Heatwave because he's off with Legends tomorrow as well. Um, so with those guys off the table, because it would have been great to see them. Captain Cold, definitely the best rogue. But with them off the table, this isn't a bad selection. Weather Wizard is one of the big rogues. Pied Piper and Peekaboo, not sure. Pied Piper, I guess, kind of a big one. Peekaboo, I'm not so sure about her as far as like in the comics and stuff. But and with the other, there's a couple others that I won't mention since they're not mentioned on the back. I'll let you be surprised. But they they I want to say they work well together, but I mean as far as the way they're portrayed and their interactions, it's written well. They don't necessarily, they're all bad guys, which you always have clashes, I think, when bad guys are working together. So they don't always work well together, but the characters within the context of the story work well together. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you understand the difference there? What I'm trying to express, maybe not in the clearest way. Um, and the we do get to see some characters we wouldn't necessarily see because of these weird visions that Barry Allen is having. Um, so that's kind of cool. Again, some dead people. Uh, One in particular, who's a favorite character of mine in the comics, and we didn't necessarily get to see a lot of on the show, but um, and not everybody Barry has visions of is dead. So we do get to see some of these characters we didn't see a lot of on the show. They kind of pop up here. Um, it's it's an entertaining story, and there is going to be a second book a little later in 2017, an Arrow book. So there is there's a conclusion to the story, but there are things that aren't settled because they're going to be taken care of in the second book. So it's it is satisfying. You won't be if you only want to read this and don't want to read the Arrow novel, but I will be, and I'll review it, of course. Um, but if you just want to read this, you can. Well, I guess you will be left hanging. There, like I said, not everything is concluded completely. So, if you're going to want an explanation for certain things, you're going to have to pick up the other book. But I want to say the main part of the story concludes, but it's really sort of a 50-50 kind of thing. So half the story concludes, and I don't know. This is pretty rambly. Not one of my best, most coherent reviews necessarily. Uh, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm a huge fan of the show. I've always been a fan of the Flash, the comic books. I think it's personally, I know a lot of people disagree. People pick their favorites. I think it's the best of the CW network DC shows. Again, I don't watch Arrow on a regular basis. I did watch the first season of Legends of Tomorrow, and I really was not a fan. I thought it had great potential that was wasted. Um, and while not a perfect show, The Flash is highly entertaining, less problematic than Legends of Tomorrow. Um, I love all the characters on the show for the most part. Um, Again, Cisco, consistently a great character. Um, and Joe West. You've got Joe and Iris, um, who are both fun characters. Iris, I love Joe on the show, Joe West. Iris, sometimes she's fantastic, sometimes not so much. I mean, that's just the writing on the show. Sometimes it's not the most consistent. Maybe Iris doesn't have that much to do. Sometimes she's almost an ancillary character in some episodes, it feels like to me. Um, and she almost has that status in this story. I mean, she does some pretty important stuff, I guess. Yeah, she does. So she's more than just an ancillary character, but she still doesn't have as big a role as some of the other folks in the story. Um, excuse me. I mentioned I like the way the villains, the rogues work together, story wise, and the plan and the way it's executed is pretty cool. You know, again, I don't want to give anything away. Um, the problem that Barry is having is interesting, and uh, we'll see where this goes, where things go with Oliver Queen and the Arrow crew. Assuming, I mean, it's got to take place at the. I would assume the next book is going to be moments after the end of this book. But again, since I don't watch Arrow, I'm not sure how it. I mean, I know where it's going to fit because I know where this fits and I know how the seasons work, but I'm not as familiar with all the characters on Arrow, and I kind of know where Arrow started, and I know where he's at as far as the last crossover I saw. But as for the whole of his story, where it's going to fit, again, am I making sense? This is pretty rambly. Um, anyway, I guess I'll just jump to this part. My rating, I just went with the Flash symbol. You know, I got the Flash shirt on. Um, I would say if I'm going to compare this story to the show The Flash, I would put it in about the middle of episode quality. I think there are some fantastic episodes of Flash. There are a few that don't quite work for me, and then you've got that sort of middle ground. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 Flash symbols. Um, because I guess I mean you would think 2.5 would be average out of 5. I mean that's right down the middle, but 3.5 because it's again I like the way the characters are written. I love the interactions between characters, especially when the Arrow team shows up. And I mean, middle of the road episodes of The Flash, I think, are better than average. So 3.5. Show that again. 3.5 out of 5. Um, because it's entertaining. It's a lot of fun. I like reading um, superhero books. You know, I've reviewed quite a few of the Marvel novels that have come out. DC's just not putting out the prose work um, the way that Marvel is. So it was nice to pick this up and get the taste. Oh, and I like the way that they write the Flash using his powers. It's since I mean his power is speed. It could be, I suppose, difficult to convey that in a prose style. Obviously, it's easy, relatively speaking. I'm not talking special effects and that kind of thing, but it's easy to show it on TV or in a movie because you can see it. You can somehow they're going to show that he's moving super fast. In the comic books, again, you have the pictures to look at, and they have their ways of conveying that the character is moving fast. When it's just words on a page, uh, you don't just want to read, he moved really fast. You want it conveyed in a way that's going to allow you to see it. And they do a really good job of that. I like the way that they do it. And they do some really interesting things with the Flash when he's using his powers. Um, so, 3.5 out of 5. If you're a fan of the Flash, if you're a fan of the TV show, you're definitely going to want to pick this up. It's a lot of fun. Um, And like I said, I'm gonna pick up the Arrow book that follows this because I want the whole story. And there are things that are gonna that aren't finished in this. Plenty that is. Again, repeating myself. But yeah, if you're a fan of the Flash, pick this up. Even if you don't watch the show, but you like the character from the comics or something, pick this up. Maybe it'll get you to watch the show. Uh, if you're just looking for a good, fun superhero type story, go ahead and pick this up. Uh, it's a great show. It's a fun book. Um, Not sure what else there is to say about it. So, if you have any, I'll have a link or two for the book in the description below if you want to pick it up online. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. So if you want to know any more, I know there's a lot I didn't actually cover as far as story goes. So if you have any questions about it, or you just want to talk about the TV shows or whatever, put that down in the comments. Post spoiler warnings, and I'll tell you anything you want to know. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I think that just about covers it. So this has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith. And until next time, read more books.